Welcome to the Innovation Squadcast. If you are looking for a podcast about instructional strategies enhanced by technology, you came to the right place. In our conversations, we will talk with tech experts, share ideas and strategies to help you build your toolbox with tools that you can use in your class immediately.
Welcome to the Innovation Squadcast, and thanks for making us part of your educational PD journey. First-time listeners, welcome. For our returning listeners, welcome back. We are glad you're here. Today, we are talking empowering students with choice, with creativity meets education. So in today's episode, we're diving into dynamic world of student choice and empowerment, getting ready to explore the diverse ways students can showcase their knowledge and ideas, from captivating Ignite presentations to engaging podcasts like ours, videos, books, and beyond. We'll unravel the magic behind these student creation tools, discussing how they foster autonomy, creativity, and a love for learning. Join us on this journey to unleash the power of student choice and witness the incredible impact it has on education. Stay tuned for insights, inspiration, innovative ideas from the Innovation Squadcast. Before we get started, let's pause for this week's tech tip. This week's tech tip is found inside of Google Docs. You have the ability to link things in Google Docs without sometimes even having to go out into the internet to find that link. For example, if I'm wanting to link this CoSpaces edu, if I just highlight and hit Control K, at the bottom, Google will actually find that particular website and go ahead and auto-populate that quick link in there, so that I don't have to go find the link, copy and paste, bring it in. Same thing here with ThingLink. Highlight, Control K, and then I've got the link already down here as well. So it's a fast way to be able to link things inside of a Google Doc without having to go out of the Google Doc to link it. Hope everybody enjoyed that tech tip. I am Jimmy Kate.
I'm Nicole Point.
And we are innovative learning coordinators in Berkeley County School District, and we love student choice. That is what I think if you had to kind of sum up our team as one thing, I think if we were like, you could only do one thing, I think this would be it, right? The idea of student creation and giving them choice and how they can kind of demonstrate their mastery. And you were telling me about the Ignite presentations and things like that were going on. So what ways can students create Ignite presentations to kind of give them some choice in how they demonstrate their mastery?
Well, for people like me, it kind of gives you a time limit. Like, hey, here's the information.
Right.
You got this amount of time to get this much out there. And then the kids are like, when they have a time constraint, they get a little excited. They know they have to throw all the important information in there, and then they can build it up. They can talk through it. They can make it really engaging too.
And so for someone who doesn't know, what does an Ignite presentation look like? What is the kind of the what you talk about time constraint? What's the format?
So in the Ignite presentation, you get, what did we
I think it's like 15 seconds-ish. Yeah.
Per slide.
Right.
So you got to pick the best meat that you want to put in that slide.
Right.
And you got to be ready to rock and roll on to the next one. Whereas people like me might stop and talk through a slide for a little bit longer. So these Ignite presentations really get the students going. And we've used these Ignite presentations with teachers in some of the cohorts, and they were phenomenal.
And you can kind of set your slide length to determine the time. You can make them kind of short, a couple of slides, or you can make them about usually 20 slides ish will give you about a 5-minute presentation, which sounds like it's long and easy, but it actually is very difficult to really have them concise that information down to just a few seconds per slide. Right,
because you want to get all the important stuff in there.
And what's cool about them is it makes them more dynamic, a little more interesting, a little more vibrant than if it was just one video with because you can videotape it, you can pre-record it, you can do it live with some timing. So there's different ways to do that as well.
Yeah, we've had teachers do all those examples. So it was cool to see in a class we were doing. The teachers who would stand up there and go through the slides, or the ones who did Screencastify and had, their face embedded in it, explaining it.
It's just a way of taking that presentation and spicing it up a little bit so that you're not sitting through 25 Google slide presentations, which as much as we all love that, sometimes they do get a little bit on the dry side. So this way just to kind of jazz that up a little bit.
That's why we're here. All these different choices.
Just to have that little choice. So another choice for students when they're creating is podcasts, just like this. Students have Screencastify. They have the extension as we use Screencastify for our podcast. It is a great creation tool when it comes to creating. So, using podcasts, getting them creating, writing a script, interviewing each other, right? Those are all ways that you can kind of use that podcasting feature. Yes. And then Spotify for podcasters is pretty great too. That's if you really want to send it out to the world. So, we talked about it launching to an authentic audience before on previous episodes. So that if you wanted to kind of launch it to another, to a larger audience, you could kind of empower your teachers and students with that. So that's one of your options as well. So.
And please make sure it's Spotify for podcasters.
Yes, not Spotify.
Not Spotify, because then you won't be able to get to it. So make sure you're in Spotify for podcasters.
Yes, and we talked about launching to an authentic audience in episode 56. If you wanted to, go back and look at just how other ways that you can launch to a wider audience, and that's one way to do it as well. So,
Jimmy,
yes,
what's your favorite podcast in Spotify for podcasters?
Besides the Innovation Squadcast,
okay.
There's a lot of really great ones out there. So I love Shake Up Learning. I love Dr. Spencer's podcast as well. His is really great. But Innovation Squadcast number one, definitely. So,
and there have been plenty of teachers who have had their students do podcasts.
Yes. Yep.
And they can be short and sweet. They can be on a weekly basis. They can be about a thematic, ending what the topic was you were discussing, anything.
Yep. Next is video creation. Video creation is one that applies to any subject, any level. Having students being able to create in video. I have students working with Adobe Express right now over in a middle school that are doing guide trips around Europe, using, again, now that they have this new feature in both Adobe Express and Canva where you can remove backgrounds without using green screen. So it really helps to streamline that process. You don't have to worry about the green screens. Everyone can kind of be filming at the same time. So you're not limited by the number of green screens or green spaces that you can create. It's a super fast, easy way to be able to remove backgrounds, put some images in there using these different platforms of Adobe Express and Canva. So what are some other options that you've seen?
Some of the cool things with the video creation in Canva, there's all different templates.
Yes.
There's a TikTok style template.
Yep.
Tell me you're not going to get the best presentation from one of your students if they can do it.
I think some of those older students like to make TikToks.
Right. And you mentioned the background remover.
Yes.
And then in Magic Video, it's a quick clip. If you add 3 pictures, it creates this video for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you might take your 3 most important pictures of whatever the content is you want to create a video about, and it'll create that video for you. So
yes,
a little bit of
and don't think you have to, again, know all this tech stuff. This is where you reach out to your ILCs. We'll be more than happy to come in, walk your kids through this, walk you through how to use some of these different tools so that you're able to use them and get your students creating with them as well. We use Book Creator as well. We just went into a high school and had a foreign language class. Shout out Miss Hines' French classes.
Bonjour.
That were able to use Book Creator to, I think mine were making children's books. The class I was working with. What were your classes working with?
Mine was working on the content they were working on, which was past tense.
Okay.
And then something that they had been doing during the days of the week.
I gotcha. So reinforcing what they already had.
Yeah.
Whereas I was working with a French 4 class, so they were very advanced. So they were able to create a children's book with images and put that in there as well. So,
yeah, and they loved it.
Yes, they did. So Book Creator, great creation tool that I've used you've used it with pre-K, right? I've used it kindergarten all the way through 12. So it's a super user-friendly tool that any student can use. Again, talking about any subject, any grade level, Book Creator is great. So,
yeah.
And you free account, you get 40 books in your library. So talking about blogs. Blogs is another way just to get kids writing and thinking about the creation of blogs, giving them a choice on how they want to frame something and when they're writing. And you can do this in Canva as well. You have many options when it comes to, anytime you give the kids, students, again, choice. We're talking about empowering them, right, with choice. And how can they demonstrate mastery? Do you want to write a book? Do you want to write a blog? Do you want to make a video, right? You can get, the same information from them in lots of different ways. And blogs is another one. Let them geek out on something that they're excited about.
And in Canva, you can have a presentation or an infographic, anything you already have created.
Yep.
You can go to Magic Switch, transform into doc, and if you choose blog, it will put your presentation or your whatever you created, whether it's an infographic or whatever, into an actual blog post for you.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that gives them a chance to see what it is it looks like. And we talked about Canva, same infographics, interactive infographics using Canva, Google Docs. We talked about using HyperDocs before. Episode 45 was introduction. Me and Pam talked about HyperDocs. So if that's something you're interested, being able to leverage the power of Google and putting in links into your document and letting the students be able to create a Google Doc with links that take you to a bunch of different places and show the research that they were doing is another way for them to show and demonstrate their mastery as well. So one that kind of just appeared the other day, I was teaching some students Tinkercad for 3D printing.
Wait, you were teaching them, or this student was teaching?
Well, she could probably teach me a few things or not, but what was incredible is that the teacher's like, all right, this we're going to use this next 20 minutes or so to just play with get used to this, so that when we go to create this object for 3D printing, they were able to do that. And she created this hamburger and French fries that looked like, it looked perfect. Like it was just like copied and pasted in that. And she did it through taking shapes, manipulating those shapes, changing the color, carving out different areas. And so she was able to make digital art using Tinkercad. You can use Auto Draw, you can use SketchUp. There's lots of different ways, but just letting them create something in their minds that they have, using those artistic skills to be able to create is something is a great way for them to, again, demonstrate their mastery.
They might have another way, because, when we're in Tinkercad, we're not thinking, oh yeah, let's create digital art. And then there she goes. She created some.
Yeah. They were creating castles. So there's lots of different ways that you can repurpose things. Tinkercad, we think of 3D printing, but here we are, the ability to create digital art. That's not going to be a 3D print, but something she could turn in as part of that project. It was a way just to demonstrate mastery. So there's lots of different ways with that. So, and we love our coding projects as well. So coding project, the first thing that jumped into my mind was microbits, right? That's
something a little bit newer to us. And we've been experimenting with different grade levels.
Microbits is a great, and then another thing we talked about in episode 60 as well. So we've talked about a lot of these things in multiple different episodes. We wanted to kind of bring them all together in this one idea of them letting them have choice. But if a student's into coding and the idea of using microbits to, create, there's so many projects out there, and it's something that seems to be growing pretty exponentially. You guys just came back from that conference, and it seemed to be like there was a lot of different resources there they were able to find as well. Yeah,
a lot of extensions or a lot of add-ons. And for those of you who do not know, a microbit is a microcomputer, probably about 6 inches.
Yep.
So very easily accessible when we bring them into the classrooms. The students connect them right to their Chromebooks, and they can go through tutorials with the microbits, or they can start creating on their own.
Yep. And they're all things that you can create that are standard based that go along with. There's kits that come along with it. There's there's the basic design, and simple coding, all the way up to very advanced coding and the creation of solar panels and cars. And so it's really, really cool new resource that's growing. And again, reach out to your ILCs. We'll be more than happy to help with that. We have a class set of microbits that we can bring in to help kind of to bring about some, bring that into your class so your kids have some choice to create. And then one thing also that's new with coding, and that is App Inventor and app creation. It is still definitely in its beta phases, and it's not without its bugs and issues, but the MIT App Inventor is a way that, students can create mobile apps that are usable. And so if they find ways to be able to, let them demonstrate their mastery on something by creating an app is pretty exciting. So that's something, again, that's growing. It's not completely without bugs yet, but it's going to be something that continues to grow, I think, as the technology catches up as well. So.
Oh, please. And even if we're not, up to par on it, just give it to the students. They will figure it out.
Sometimes they'll be able to figure it out way faster than we can as well. So, and then kind of interviews and base, we've already kind of touched this a little bit. It kind of also goes along with podcast. But, a lot of times, sometimes, I would have students create a Google slide version of this using like Screencastify, where they would, have a debate inside of Google Slide as like two presidential candidates of like Andrew Jackson and I don't remember who they would debate during that time. Just left my mind. Go ahead, talk.
So I'll skip over to Screencastify.
Screencastify, which we use for that.
Keep going.
I'll get it in a second. Yes,
it'll come to you tonight. He'll add it to the podcast. With Screencastify, they can, there's interactive questions that you could have, for the students to answer for each other, or, the teacher to student. There's a lot of editing that they can do in there.
Yes, it was John Quincy Adams. It was John Quincy Adams. I found it. Yeah. So John Quincy Adams and
I was
Andrew
thinking
Jackson.
too. I was trying to talk and I was thinking.
Yeah. So, having them, use that for, podcasting, Screencastify. You can do interviews, debates, and flip, or just have them even script out an interview and debate between two different people. Also would help kind of cement that kind of learning and give them some choice on how they go about it. So,
right.
And last but not least, for our student creation examples are virtual worlds. This is something that I fell in love with in CoSpaces. It was 100% my favorite project that my students would create these virtual museums. We did them for presidential museums. We did them for time periods. We did them as review. We did them for lots of different ways for them to be able to work inside of this virtual world, create this museum. And that's usually what I would do. I just learned it, at the end. It is still something that, one thing about this one, though, it is a paid version to be able to use it. So, just kind of, unfortunately, with a lot of these things, sometimes you have to look at that as well. But it
or
does
they get
provide,
you hooked.
Yes, they do.
We talk about it. We're in the program or the site
Right.
working on it, and then boom.
Yeah.
Now it costs you this much.
A little bit. Yeah. This one, and you can get a few licenses together and you can rotate out, the virtual worlds, but, just what they can create inside of that, because you can embed, videos, you can embed images, text, and all this, that you create this virtual museum where they actually are in the museum and they're giving a presentation.
When I would see your students work, it
was absolutely one of our favorite. And then you were kind of showing me ThingLink a little bit.
Yeah. So ThingLink, you can add, once again, you can add images, videos, voiceovers, recordings, any of that. And it's really cool because it's like an interactive visual. So you could have a picture of the desert and you could have different things in the desert. And then when they click on whatever the object is, maybe it comes to life with a video, or it has a little recording, or you can, the student can record what that is. So depending on what the topic is, but it is really cool because it's more like a 360 live version of whatever information.
And you can create some really, really cool presentations and some really cool, just give them some options and choice in ThingLink. And it's probably underused. My students didn't use it a lot when, because I gave them, when they gave them the choice and I gave them that demonstration of mastery tool list, right? I'd list 40 or 50 different things that they could use. Wasn't used a lot. But sometimes, and when you're thinking about choice too, and providing it, sometimes it's good to limit that choice down to 2 you want them to use, and maybe pick one that isn't as widely used before. And then another way to also encourage them to pick different things, because sometimes you also don't want them doing the same thing over and over again, is through badging. So I would give a little bit of extra credit. If you used a different creation tool this time, that's good. But then with Schoology, the ability to create badging for my students would be great as well. And being able to, tie some kind of reward to whoever could get the most badges by the end. So you get your book creator badge, you get your Canva badge, you get your Google Doc badge, right? And I thought that'd be so much fun to really encourage that creation and then let them open up some more choices as well. So,
and let's remember, paper pencil is also amazing. They can make books.
Yes.
I remember in your classroom, we
did physical books. I always gave them the choice. They could create a physical version, or they could create a digital version.
Some want to use that paper pencil. Some might go back and forth with the choices, but then it's great because then you can see.
Yeah, the scrapbooks were the scrapbooks, because they can make the physical scrapbook, which they usually chose that one just because everyone, who doesn't love making a scrapbook, right? With journals inside of it. But then some would create, using Book Creator would use the digital version. So they work both ways. So we definitely want to encourage whatever it is the students, empower them with that choice, because that's really what's going to get them excited about creating. And that's what we want. We want our kids excited about what they're doing.
And don't be afraid.
And engaged.
Right. And don't be afraid to let them say, hey, what about this?
Yes.
Just perfect example in your class. a student came to you and said, can I use Minecraft?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what Minecraft is, but sure, go for it. This was, obviously a little bit longer. Now I know what Minecraft is, but yeah, then they were able to create, one kids were able to create a Lusitania that blew up. One student group actually collaborated inside of Minecraft, and they built a virtual world and demonstrated the Columbian exchange and the exchange of goods. And they had, things going to Americas and things leaving Europe.
So amazing.
Yeah.
One of them, didn't they put it in Screencast-Find, do a voiceover to walk you through it?
Well, they were on it together.
A little bit of app smashing.
Yep. They were definitely app smashing there. They were together talking about it together inside of that virtual world. So as well. So yeah, there's lots of different options. So open it up to them for choice as well. In my project things, I would say, here's your list. Here's a few choices. But if you have a better idea, I'm obviously open to do that, because I want them excited and I want them to be able to do it. And that's when they're going to, that creativity is going to come out, the engagement, the interactivity. And they're going to be, that's when deeper learning is going to take place as well. So.
And as the teacher, you do not need to know everything about all the different creation choices.
Nope.
You might want to freshen up on a few things to start showing them, but then even let the kids break them into groups. Hey, y'all learn about Book Creator so you can teach it to the class. You learn about ThingLink so you can teach it to the class.
Yep.
So
no, that works as well. So.
Yeah.
And then they'll figure it out, or again, invite us in. We'll be more than happy to come in and show those different tasks. So check out the show notes. We got resources to a lot of what we talked about inside of this. We're going to have some links to take you to different places that will get you into those particular creation tools. There's links to the podcast video. There's links for the tech tip video. There's links to the Innovation Squadcast PD and Unified Talent. You get 1 renewal credit for every 2 episodes that you listen to. Just got to fill out a little Google form. So definitely check out the show notes for that. And also don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, so you get notifications of new episodes. And we want to hear from you. You got any podcast topics? You want to be on the podcast? You want to share what you know? If there's a student creation tool that we forgot, please let us know. The teachers of Berkeley County need to hear. The students of Berkeley County need to be using them. So we want you to be able to help with that. So thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Thanks everyone for listening. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.